in the comics. Was that something that you explored when you were preparing for the role?
It wasn't, but in honor of Pride Month, as I'm getting all these questions, I don't know. I think that what makes this film so beautiful is that it's not centered around a man. It's not centered around love at all.
You know, what makes Supergirl so special, it's not centered around toxic masculinity. It's a passionate story about female empowerment and girl power. I'm sure most of you guys are wondering the same thing I was. Who in the hell was that? That young woman is Milly Alcock, which is an ironic name for a woman who seems to have a severe hatred of toxic masculinity, since, you know, she literally has cock in her name. For reasons unknown, this anonymous actress, she was selected for the lead role in Supergirl. Now, based on the title alone, this turd was already destined to huge embarrassing failure. But with Hollywood being blinded by the rainbow, with Hollywood being blinded by Wiener, they decided to invest hundreds of millions of dollars into this rancid turd, and they released it into theaters anyway. Supergirl was released on Friday, 2 days ago. Now, according to Cliff Notes, obviously, Uncle KC did not waste his valuable time watching this garbage. So according to Cliff Notes, Supergirl is about a traumatized young woman who overcomes her tragic past. Apparently, her parents are dead. They probably died of boredom or shame. So, Supergirl, she rescues her super dog who was poisoned by a super alien. Apparently, Milly Alcock was heavily criticized by lifelong virgins and dorks for being given the lead role in this film. Weeks before Supergirl was released, Milly Alcock decided to respond to her critics. But instead of lashing out at lonely men on Reddit who were criticizing her, Milly Alcock decides to unleash a tirade on white Christian nationalists. I don't care about my critics. Their profiles say trad wife, mama of four, lover of Jesus. Ew, that's gross. Even though normal people are no longer the target demographic for newly released Hollywood turds, I'm pretty sure demonizing 60-70% of the country, not the best way to sell movie tickets. Against a budget of $186 million, which is essentially doubled after you include marketing and promotion cost, so the budget's really closer to $350 million. Against a budget of $350 million, Super Turd has generated less than $30 million in its opening weekend, which qualifies this film for an automatic nomination at the upcoming 4th annual Huge Embarrassing Failure Awards. But Milly Alcock trashing traditional Christian families, that is not the only reason Super Turd bombed at the box office. Uncle KC will give you the real reason, but first, let's go and get to the sponsor for today's video, my good friends at American Attitude. Here in a couple of weeks, actually next week, America will be celebrating its 250th birthday. 250 years of freedom, 250 years of being the greatest country on earth. Due to a certain political party that is anti-American, I'm sure July 4th is going to be intentionally divisive. But you can show your love and support for our country and our military with patriotic gear from American Attitude. American Attitude is more than a clothing brand. It is a movement for people who love faith, freedom, and a good punchline. They got plenty of hats and t-shirts that celebrate 250 years of American freedom. But my personal favorite It's the infidel t-shirts and hoodies where you're displaying your pride at being labeled as an infidel. They've also got patriotic hoodies and tumblers to keep the beverage of your choice iced down during the summer. American Attitude strives to bring patriotic Americans together through humor and unapologetic American grit. So click the link in the description of the pinned comment below. Use my promo code BTL10, BTL10. Receive 10% off your first purchase with American Attitude. Headline at Time magazine: Supergirl is a dull, dispirited, fake feminist movie. The film opens with Supergirl living in a house on wheels, also known as a trailer. She's a party girl. She's drinking to forget her past. Or maybe she is drinking to forget the process of making this god-awful movie. Eventually, she discovers her superpower, or something like that. Supergirl saves the day, or she saves the galaxy. Honestly, I don't know, and I really don't care. I damn near fell asleep reading the summary of this garbage. Full transparency, Uncle Casey knows nothing about superheroes. Even as a child, I was never into comic books. I was never into fantasy. Uncle Casey has always preferred reality, which is one of the many reasons I hate the WNBA dump. Why do I want to waste my time watching make-believe basketball when I could watch real basketball in the NBA? Hell, I could walk outside of my studio right now and watch the kids play in the neighborhood, and those dorky white kids, they are more athletic than the so-called athletes in the WNBA dump. Uncle Casey doesn't do fantasy. I live in reality, so I know nothing about superheroes. Now, that being said, I'm struggling to understand how Supergirl can be a superhero. You know, when I was growing up, superheroes were mostly infected with toxic masculinity. Superman, Batman, He-Man. Nowadays, He-Man has become She-Man, or as they call her in the WNBA, Bob Griner. Based on my limited knowledge of fantasy heroes, I'm assuming the plotline of classic films centers around a seemingly unbeatable villain. Perhaps he is terrorizing the planet Celestia, or maybe it's a collection of yentas on The View terrorizing the country with their potent brand of boodle breeze. The people in the town, they have no way to conquer the villain on their own, so Superman or Batman flies in to save the day. Even though the story is fantasy, at least it has some basis in reality. I know this will be an unpopular narrative with the dorks in the mainstream media, but men are natural providers. Men are natural protectors. So I'm struggling to understand how an audience is supposed to believe that a 5'5" woman who calls herself Supergirl is conquering dangerous villains. If I'm in a precarious situation, if I'm in a dangerous situation, I'm not calling my wife, who's a hell of a lot tougher than Supergirl. I'm calling my boys. I'm calling my friends. What the hell is my wife going to do? Kill them with kindness? My wife gets upset when players are fighting in the NBA. Oh, why are they mad at each other? Why are they throwing punches at each other? Can't they be friends? Once again, Hollywood is trying to send a clear message with their latest box office failure. Hollywood is propagandizing. They are trying to confuse gender roles. Women can do anything men can do, and women can do it better. You know, there are a lot of things women can do better than men. My mother-in-law, she is absolutely brilliant. She can fix anything. Now, if you give Uncle KC a hammer, I'm either breaking windows or breaking fingers. When it comes to nurturing, decorating, organizing, showing empathy, dealing with physical and emotional pain, women are a hell of a lot tougher than men when it comes to dealing with pain. But if we're talking about dealing with danger, I'm not relying on a woman. Last year, my daughter was involved in a very minor car accident. She calls me in a panic. This older woman is berating her. She's blaming her for denting her car. She's threatening to call the cops. She's lecturing the child on not paying attention while driving. While on the phone, I tell my daughter to get back in the car. Don't say anything else. Daddy is on the way. I get to the scene, and all of a sudden, the dynamic has completely shifted. The raging woman has suddenly calmed down. She's telling me, I don't know what happened. I'm just driving and I felt a bump and I thought I was going to die. I ask if she's okay, pretending like I care. Eventually, she admits that the dent on her car happened 2 or 3 months ago when she was sideswiped by a non-moving garbage can. My guess is the trash can was left in the street by the lazy garbage collectors in the WNBA dump who were supposed to collect it. But the point is, women and men deal with high-pressure situations differently. Women react on emotion. Doesn't take very much for them to lose their emotional control. Men, well, most men, we have a tendency to remain calm. Supergirl is just the latest in a series of box office failures in Hollywood. The trend has now become a pattern. Hollywood spends hundreds of millions of dollars. They develop arthritis while heavily polishing their latest turd. They produce a high-priced piece of propaganda. Before it's released in theaters, doofus critics, they pretend it's going to be the blockbuster of the summer. This film is amazing! Supergirl is one bad ass. Plus, she's hot, hot, hot. The movie is released in theaters and no one shows up to see it. To make matters worse, Hollywood continues to promote actresses that America rejects. Remember Rachel Zegler? Woke Snow White, who preached against white privilege. Now we have some unknown pretending to be Supergirl lecturing us on the importance of the gay pride. Then they wonder why theaters are empty. You know, the formula is simple. Produce entertaining content and people will watch it. Unfortunately for Hollywood, they would rather indoctrinate. They would rather preach the good word and spread the woke faith. And the end result is always the same: huge, embarrassing failure. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow.